This is the Georgia Tech Research Podcast, presented by GTRI. Join us as we move forward, one research story at a time.
The views represented in these interviews do not reflect the views of the organization. They are anecdotal views of individual experiences.
Welcome to the Georgia Tech Research Podcast, presented by GTRI. This podcast highlights research between Georgia Tech and the Georgia Tech Research Institute. In today's episode, we talk with the Consortium for Helping to Improve Research Participation, or CHIRP. Today, our guests are Fran and Salima. Take it away, Salima.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to CHIRP, the Consortium for Helping Improve Research Participation podcast. This show is about something that affects all of us, but that many people don't get invited into, and that's research. Our goal is simple. We want to help close the gap between research and real people, especially people who don't usually participate in research. But before we go any further and delve into this topic, we want to know that there is a practical side of this podcast, something for you. At the end of each episode, we'll share opportunities to participate in paid research if you're interested. So stay with us. I'm Salima.
And I'm Fran. We're both research scientists at Georgia Tech, and a big part of our work focuses on disability, with our most recent study focusing on better understanding and improving employment opportunities and experiences for people with physical disabilities. So, why are we here, and why should you listen? Because research shapes everyday life whether we realize it or not. It affects what services exist and what funding communities receive, what policies get created, and even what information shows up in schools, healthcare, and workplaces.
Yes, you're right. And you mentioned funding for communities, and that makes me think of the census, because the census is often used or always used to make allocations for communities and resources within those communities. So we're talking about employment programs, accessibility, the built environment, public transportation, healthcare coverage, and enjoyment and quality of life as well. All of those decisions depend on research data. And if people, if certain people aren't included in that data, their needs won't show up in the decisions. As researchers, we don't want to decide what's important to you. We want to hear from you about what matters most to you. So, Fran, we want to improve research participation, but for whom? Who are we talking about here?
We're talking about people with disabilities, but not just one type of disability and not just one type of person. We need to hear from people from different cultures, ages, genders, races, income levels, and life experiences. People who work in cities and suburbs and rural communities. People working all kinds of jobs or not working at all. Basically, everybody with a disability.
Yep. And to be very clear, this podcast is especially for people with disabilities who do not usually participate in research. Maybe you've never been asked to participate. Maybe you've been asked, but you said no. Maybe you don't trust it. Maybe it feels confusing or inaccessible. But honestly, anyone is welcome to listen and learn with us, even if you have participated in research.
Well, Salima, can you tell me a little bit about the challenges that you faced in your own research?
Representation. That's a huge one. If people in the study all come from similar backgrounds, similar race, similar income, ages, education levels, then those results only really describe those groups. But those results still get used to make policies that affect everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And this is particularly important to me because I do a lot of policy work. And so there are so many research results that are based on people from mostly white, affluent, and well-educated backgrounds. And I only meet one of those demographics, but I won't tell you which one. But the point is that I'm not represented in a lot of research. So Fran, what do you think keeps people from participating?
Trust is a big one because history matters. Many communities were harmed or exploited in past research, like the Tuskegee syphilis study or the case of Henrietta Lacks, or unethical research involving indigenous populations. Those histories do not just disappear.
Yes, and that connects to communication and cultural awareness, language access, respectful engagement with the communities. These are things we want to work on with you in the community, not just decide on our own outside of the community. I remember attending a webinar that was hosted by the U.S. Census Bureau, and they were discussing updating how they ask about disability on the census. And a woman raised her hand, a Black woman with a disability, and she asked very plainly, "Who are you asking?" Because I've never been asked to participate in research. And that question, it really stuck with me because it gets right to the heart of the issue. Many communities, including racial minorities, rural residents, low-income groups, and people with disabilities simply aren't being included.
And it's important to remember that disability communities are not one group with one experience. Different disabilities mean different needs, different cultures shape different priorities, and different life experiences shape different perspectives. If research doesn't reflect diversity, it can't truly serve people.
Correct. So our listeners might be wondering, has anything changed since those harmful historical studies to help regain people's trust in the research process?
Yes. One major change has been the creation of institutional review boards, or IRBs, which are located at almost all universities and research institutes. Their main job is to protect research participants. They review studies to ensure that risks are minimized, that consent is clear, and that people are treated ethically. They're not perfect, but they are an important safeguard that did not exist in the past.
So we've talked a lot about research, throwing this word around, but we really haven't defined it.
So in the next episode, we're asking, what even is research?
Because research isn't just labs and surveys, it's purposeful learning. It's how we try to understand problems and what people need help with, and then we try to find solutions together with the community. And honestly, everyone does different forms of research every day. When you're comparing products, for example, reading consumer reviews to find the best phone for your needs, figuring out the best time to commute to work, or, research ideas can come from anyone.
And the process of doing research is often collaborative. We work with other people, other scientists, research participants themselves, and the funding organizations that make it happen. So if today's conversation resonates with you, we want to hear from you. Have you ever participated in research? Why or why not? And if someone asked you to participate in a study, what would you want to know?
And you can share your comments and answer Fran's questions in the comments section below. Let's recap what we've talked about today. Research affects everyone.
Exclusion from research isn't a personal failure, it's a systemic problem. But it's important for you to know that your experiences matter, your perspectives matter.
And you have the right to know about research opportunities, to ask questions about those opportunities, and to choose whether or not you would like to participate.
If research is going to serve everyone, then everyone needs the opportunity to be included.
So thanks for spending time with us. We're Salima
And Fran.
See you next time.
Research opportunity. Work, accommodations, and technology survey. Must be at least 18 years old and have an upper and/or lower body disability and have been employed in the last 5 years. Please scan the QR code if you would like to participate in the survey. Credits: Pre-production: Dara Bright, Melissa Garcia Rodriguez, Oluwatifa Jide Ulugbade, Salima LaForce, and Lauren Lee. Studio: GTRI Podcast Studio. Audio production: Eric Klein. Video production: Raminta Zubrowskis. Captions and sign language interpretation: DeafLink Incorporated. The contents of this podcast were developed under a grant from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. NIDLR Grant number 90RTEM001001. NIDLR is a center within the Administration for Community Living, ACL, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. The contents of this podcast do not necessarily represent the policy of NIDLR, ACL, or HHS, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government.